some cheesy bread today. There's a few different things you can do with it. You can turn it into a pizza crust, which will give you a thick pizza crust. I do have another video on thin pizza, but this would be a thick pizza. Or what we're going to do today is we're going to do our cookie sheet full, and we're going to just put cheese on top. So it's going to be cheese bread, which works great to have with spaghetti or chili, something like some kind of a pasta dish. And you could also turn it into crazy bread. So, you know, when you go to the pizza place and they have crazy bread, you can actually cut your dough into the little logs, and then after they bake, you put garlic butter on and Parmesan, and you have crazy bread. So it's using the same dough. So we're just going to get this started. We're going to do the cookie sheet full. My recipe, I also do have a smaller batch that you can do if you only have a small family. But if you have a larger group, then you'll want to have a full cookie sheet. So I'm going to start with my yeast. I have 1.5 tablespoons of yeast and 2 cups of warm water. I always like to get my water and my yeast together in the pot first so that that can start working. I'm also going to add in, I have one tablespoon of garlic spice. I like to use this Johnny's garlic spice. You can find it at Costco. It's just got a very nice combination of spices in it. So I'm putting 1 tablespoon of that in. And I have a teaspoon of salt. I have 2 tablespoons of oil. You can use olive oil, canola oil, whatever kind of oil you have on hand. And we're going to put in 4 cups of flour. We're just going to get this mixing. And we're probably going to let this mix for about 3 minutes or so, just so it all comes together nice. So we'll just get that going. And then I'll show you what that looks like once it's all mixed up. Alright, so I've had my dough mixing for about 3 minutes or so. I don't want to put too much flour in because I do want it to be quite a soft dough to be able to work with, because I want to be able to spread it over my whole cookie sheet. So it's still tacky, but that's okay. So I'm going to get this off of the hook and out of my bowl, and I'm going to spread it onto my cookie sheet. Might need a little bit of flour on my hands or a little bit of water on my hands to just get it spread out, but I'll show you that. I'll just get my mixer out of the way. Alright, so I've greased my cookie sheet. I have a little bit of water here just to get my hands just a little bit damp, so it's just a bit easier to spread this out. So we're going to spread this over the whole cookie sheet, and then we're going to let it rise for a bit, probably for about half an hour, basically while your oven preheats, and we're going to get the oven to 375 degrees. If you were going to be making, it as a pizza, I would actually let it rise and then bake it for 10 minutes first, and then put your sauce and cheese and toppings on. I always find homemade pizzas are just harder in a home oven to get your crust and your toppings all to bake evenly. So by baking your crust for a few minutes first often really helps a lot. So I'm just going to get this all with cheese bread on it. If you were wanting to make crazy bread, this is the point where you would actually I would probably cut this in half, and then I would cut little slivers of and kind of have little rolls. So you'd have nice little logs of dough that you would put on the cookie sheet and let them rise as little sticks. And then you would let those rise for a bit and then bake those. So the crazy bread would be, when it comes out of the oven, you would brush on some garlic butter. So melt some butter with some garlic spice in, brush it on and put some Parmesan cheese on right away, so that it melts on there. So that would be crazy bread. This is going to be the cheesy bread, where we're just going to put a bunch of cheese on here. You can do a combination of your cheddar, mozza, and Parmesan, whatever you have on hand. And then we're going to bake that in the oven as the cheese bread for about probably 25 minutes. If it was pizza, make sure you do 10 minutes first, put your toppings on, and do for another 20. Crazy bread, the little logs might only need about 20 minutes. You probably want to keep an eye on that to make sure they're not over baking them. So we're just going to cover this up with a tea towel, let it rise for a bit. I'll get my oven preheating, I'll get my cheese chopped up, and I'll show you what that looks like just before I put it in the oven. Alright, so my oven has been preheating for almost 20 minutes, and the dough is starting to rise. So I've just got some Parmesan cheese and cheddar cheese on here. And we're going to bake this in the oven for about 25, 30 minutes. I'll show you what it looks like at about 25 minutes so we can see. And if you like mozzarella, go ahead and put mozzarella. Tastes good when you have a combination of a few different cheeses on there. So get this in the oven and we'll take a look at it when it comes out. This is what it looks like at about the 20-minute mark. It's getting close. I will probably do a few more minutes, close to 25, because I want it to be golden all the way. All right, so our cheese bread is out of the oven. It's nice and golden around the edges. You don't want it to get too dark and it's all bubbly. So I'm just going to cut this up. So this was in the oven for 25 minutes. And you want to serve this hot if you can. So plan it out, so about an hour and 15 minutes before dinner is when you'll start working on your dough, because you'll want it to rise for about half an hour, and then baking for your 25 minutes or so, and then you need to get it all cut up and ready to serve. So about an hour and 15 minutes from dinner time, before dinner, is when you want to kind of start working on it. So give this one a try, serve it hot. It is so delicious with any kind of pasta or chili. And there's the recipe.